Well, good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. I'm going to do our May the 13th spiritual principle a day in a meditation. Hope you're doing well this morning. Hope everyone had a beautiful weekend, a beautiful Mother's Day. I know I did, and I'm grateful. The title of the meditation, Flexibility and Relationships. The flexibility that relationships require comes more easily to us when we are practicing principles in our lives. That comes from the Living Clean Book, Chapter 5, Romantic Relationships, the Courage to Trust. Most of us are not wired for flexibility. Letting go of control isn't in our nature. We struggle with rigid expectations of how people should behave. So we fight or flee when things don't go our way. Others of us live with minimal boundaries. We put up with anything to avoid conflict, pain, and rejection. Thankfully, we have a program based on spiritual principles and relationships with NA members to help teach us how to live by them. By being real with each other in NA, we support each other in becoming less rigid. We learn to handle the truth. Working with a sponsor helps us to trust and to ask for what we need. Serving in a home group and beyond provides us with opportunities to compromise, speak up for ourselves, and respect boundaries. We become more flexible as we apply other principles too. Our emotional muscles get more limber with open mindedness, willingness, honesty, empathy, sometimes tolerance, if that's all we've got. Working the steps and practicing principles helps us to let go of the illusion of control. Our lives improve as we figure out who we are and who we're not. We come to understand the disease and trust our higher power. We allow people to be who they are because we're learning to be okay with ourselves. Getting to know someone on a deeper level is easier when we know ourselves. As we let go of self centered patterns of gratification, being cooperative and accommodating allows us to be equal partners in our relationships. Many of us once lived by a policy of my way or the highway. By practicing the principles in our program, we gain the flexibility to be able to say, your way? Sure, let's try it out. Relating well with others involves some give and take. I will draw on my NA experience to practice flexibility in all of my relationships. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Flexibility, huh? We're talking about flexibility in relationships and how flexible can we be? Everything was so rigid for me. Um, and quite honestly, I'm not as flexible as I appear to be. I try to be flexible, right? Because I know for me to function, one of the things that I have to deal with is this character defect of fear and sometimes paralyzing fear, right? And so I know for me, part of the shortcoming that comes out of that is that I want to control everything. I overanalyze everything. I want to control everything. This is how you should move. This is what you should do. And this is what I'm going to do. And that results in a perfect outcome, please. Please. And so the sooner I let go of that need for control, the better off I am. The problem comes in is when you start engaging, or when I start engaging other people, and they start expressing their opinions, and they start expressing what they think. And I think to myself, if they're so free in telling you what they think, you ought to be free in telling them what you think, right? And you operate out of what I used to call, um, you operate out of your deficit, right? You operate out of your past. You operate out of those hurts, old traumas that you've experienced, and you think everybody is out to get you. Well, you know what? That is not the case. And so today, I have to learn how to allow other people to have their say and have their way. Depending on how invested I am, may determine how much of a struggle it is. But if I'm invested in the relationship, regardless to the intensity of the struggle, I will find myself wanting to be more flexible. That's what you think we should do? Let's try that. Now, in the back of my head, even though I say, I'm appearing to be flexible, in the back of my head, I may already be thinking, I got plan B. If this doesn't work out, I have a plan B. And so I'm not really that worried about it, right? So, how flexible are we being today in our relationships? Because I have learned in Narcotics Anonymous through the relationships I have with people, right? Very integral type relationships I know I can depend on and they can depend on me. Just tell the truth, speak the truth, and give me an opportunity to either embrace it or let it go, right? There's nothing lost because the relationship is not going to end because we disagree. I have people in my life like that today. But also as a result of doing service work, I learned how to be more democratic, right? I learned how to be concerned about all of us in Narcotics Anonymous and not just my opinion. I learned that I don't have to have the final say at the business meeting. And I don't have to act snooty or, mean spirited after the business meeting either, or even during it. Could care less, quite frankly. Whatever we decide to do, that's what we're going to do. And I can support that with all that I am. I don't have to be mean spirited today. I learned in Narcotics Anonymous how to be flexible. And it's an ongoing process, but it's one that I lean more into than not today. And you can do the same. I bet you if you just go back into 24 hours, let's just say do a 10 step, you go back into 24 hours of your day. I bet that just like myself, you can find an area where you could have been more flexible, but you just weren't. Just because you wanted to do it your way, you didn't want to consider anybody else's way of thinking. This is what we've always done. We're going to do it and be done with it. I have these kids coming up. They're 11 and 12, almost 13 in 2 months, right? One will be 13. He's taller than me. He's the tallest person in the house. He's the strongest person in the house. And he's a gentle giant. Probably his brother's pretty humble too. They both have really good spirits. But the point is that I listen to them today. I don't treat them like little kids that are just talking about something they don't know what they're talking about. I listen to them today when they bring things up because I value our relationship and their input and that they're children, right? How much more so we want to be doing that with every situation, every relationship, because everyone has their own views, their own opinions. Today, let's try that out. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. Have a beautiful day on purpose because you deserve it. And if you don't do it for you, nobody else is going to, okay? I need you to do that at least for yourself.